Hi guys, and welcome to another RGT video. This time I want to talk about specific characters and what makes them interesting or memorable to the player. But for now, the character I want to talk about first is Ezio from Assassin's Creed 2. In my opinion, he is one of the most interesting characters to come out of recent years. Although, you know, his well fleshed out personality is obviously a huge part of what makes him so interesting. A big part of it is also down to how he is used to tell the story to the player. Most of this comes from the fact that when we first meet Ezio, he's just an ordinary person, he's not an assassin yet. And although he's more acrobatic than your average Joe Bloggs on the street, he is still just an everyman. And this helps the player better connect with him and the world we're presented with, because the questions that the player would naturally ask about the setting and the characters and the story, Ezio will naturally ask as he progresses through and learns his trade. And another thing as well is, you know, because Ezio is learning to be an assassin from pretty much the very beginning, he's obviously not very good at it at first, which obviously the player isn't when they first pick up the game, so that too helps them better connect with Ezio and also simultaneously gets them better immersed in the world. It obviously helps that Ezio is such a likeable and charismatic character, you know, but this is a really effective use of his character and the point in which you join him in the story. It's a great method of storytelling, and you know, it really helps with the immersion of the game. It enables the developers to tell the story of Ezio and the assassins and the greater overarching story in a way that's fairly unobtrusive. You know, obviously the Desmond segments are, as always, a bit unwelcome because no one really cares about him, but Ezio himself is a great tool for the developer to use because he is such an average guy at the start. You know, the player immediately feels more connected with him than they would when you meet him, he's a badass assassin who could do whatever he wants, you know? And although the story would still be good if Ezio wasn't as interesting, which we kind of saw in the first game with Altair, you know, the second game, in my opinion, is much better than the first one, and a big part of that is because Ezio is much more interesting by himself and also much better used to actually be a part of the story. The next character I want to talk about is James Sunderland from Silent Hill 2. He is very different from Ezio, and not just because the game he's featured in couldn't be further from Assassin's Creed 2. But he does have one main similarity with him, in that, you know, he is an ordinary person. I mean, he's pretty much completely off his rocker, but he is an ordinary person. While he remains a mystery, he still serves as a vessel for the player to discover the disturbed world that the player presents us with. Again, James's reactions are pretty much the player's reactions, and although a few of his reactions are kind of skewed by his disturbed mind, it still works, and it kind of doubly works because it kind of makes us think about his character as well as the story and what's happening around him, and makes us wonder about his motivations and such. As I was saying, the mystery of James's character, history and motivations also serve as a great tool to draw the player in and to tell the story as well. As I said, you know, we want to know what's up with this guy. Why is he so crazy? Is he just imagining this or what? You know, so although he's an ordinary guy, he's crazy in both of those things. Great serve to draw us into the world and into his character as well. And now the town of Silent Hill itself is obviously a massive part of what makes this game so engaging, but that by itself would not be enough, as we saw with Silent Hill Origins, which originally came out on PSP. The character for that game was completely uninteresting in my opinion, and he had no motivation or reason or anything to continue travelling through Silent Hill and risking his life and all the rest of it, and that made the game completely just flat and uninspired in my view. As a big Silent Hill fan, obviously I'm going to be overly critical, but that game just was ugh. So, you know, obviously without an interesting character, the town of Silent Hill is not enough. We need someone to connect with, to take us through the story. James, with his tragic, determined and excuse me, disturbed character, is an integral part of the immersion of Silent Hill 2. And he is definitely one of my personal favourites in game. Anyway, I think that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching, and if there's any characters you want me to cover in future episodes, you know, just let me know, and if there's any comments or anything you want to give, then please feel free. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Free.